Hey guys, Barry at CTech-review. Today, I want to talk about this Super Duty situation going on. And from what I'm understanding, things are not improving on the situation with inventory growing on Ford trucks. Let's do this. It's interesting here, we got a row and a half-ish of F-150s, which has been pretty standard. They used to carry a lot more, but check out the Super Duties here. A ton, an entire row now filled up all the way to the end and continuing to grow. So I just walked this lot here a week or so ago and showed you guys kind of what's going on. Like we got XLTs, lower end XLTs, got King Ranches, got Lariats, got a low XLT, got an XL. We can go down the full gamut. You want gas, you want diesel, you want 6.8, you want 7.3, you want high output, you want 7.3 here, 7.3 here. You got argon blue, standard output, got a high output down here. Like I said, they've got every engine, every cab configuration, every bed length, every trim level, and the inventory is still picking up. I'm curious if you guys are seeing a slowdown where you're at. Are you seeing trucks pile up? The one thing that I'm finding that's interesting where we're at, we're not seeing a lot of inventory of high output diesels. This is like one of the only ones here actually. All the rest of the trucks are either standard outputs or a 6.8, 7.3. And I thought this is cool, guys. This is the first 2026 F-350 trimmer with the standard output power stroke. Why is this a big deal? Up until 2026, you could not get this truck with the standard output power stroke. You had to get the high output. I'm happy to see this because it'll save you 3,000 bucks. Obviously you got a high output right next to it, and it's easy to tell the high output. The 6.7 liter is red, whereas this is black. Not a big deal. Do you feel the difference of an extra 25 horse? And I think it's like an extra 1,050 or 200 pound-feet of torque. I'm sure some people feel it, and I'm sure other people will say you don't notice it. There are some other benefits to the high output power stroke. I got lots of videos explaining this, but basically different turbo, different up pipes, different tuning, $3,000 more than this truck for 25 horse and 150 pound-feet of torque. Is it worth it to you? I digress. But what I like about this for 2026 is you can save yourself 3,000 bucks if you don't need the high output. You can get the standard output. So it's one of the first new trimmer Super Duties I've seen, and I kind of been looking. It's still got the power steering assist. Happy to see that. They still got the running boards on backwards. I know a lot of people have been confused about that for a while. That's still on. Undercoating obviously still looks good, guys. I like the badging. Got the gray, not the red. Still got the LED backup lights, but halogen reverse bulbs on this one I can see, and above, below, 2.5 inch hitch still. This is the applique for the base Platinum, whereas if you look in the past, the Platinum applique said Platinum, now it just says Super Duty. Some people like that. I like the blacked out personally of the Super Duty a little bit more than the chrome of the Platinum. But regardless, they've got a ton of trucks, and these guys are willing to deal, which is great. The problem right now is not the dealerships wanting to deal, it's there's not a lot of rebates on these trucks, even though the inventory is starting to pick up. In a lot of cases, there's literally zero rebates. So these truck prices went up quite a bit in just a calendar year, and yet there's not a lot of help in rebates and discounts. So I'd be curious what kind of discounts you guys are seeing as far as rebates and incentives. Very much here, sadly. You could try to negotiate, which I'd recommend anybody doing, but generally speaking, the manufacturer has not offered a whole lot of help for the 2026 model year. And it's interesting because the inventory is going up. My theory on this entire thing right now is Ford is building up inventory across the board on Super Duty and F-150 and others because the supplier that has been impacted with the aluminum fire at their plant, they know they're going to be impacted and they're not going to produce the amount of rate of vehicles they need. I'm not going to say call it artificially inflating the pricing, but if they do have an inventory issue where they can't build enough vehicles for demand, supply and demand, it's going to keep the prices up. So why would you discount it? And then you got no vehicles on the lot. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this year plays out. The other thing that's happening Have you guys been following the pricing and what's going on with Ram heavy duties and Silverado heavy duties? I'm gonna go into the next part of this video. We're gonna compare pricing on half-ton trucks and HD trucks, where you can see where's the entry-level HD trucks start when you look across the board. Okay, we're gonna compare the 26 Silverado 2500 versus the Ram 2500 versus the Sierra 2500, and we're gonna do the Ford Super Duty. We're just looking at right at the moment is entry level pricing, not one option selected. So we start with the F-250 XL starts at $45,675. The Sierra starts actually at $48,795. So you can see there's already like almost a $3,000 price increase when we just look at this from the very surface level. Now we go to Ram, $45,995, and the Silverado HD rear-wheel drive work truck, $47,000. But let's go to the most common. And once again, the whole point of this video is we're going to focus specifically on work truck, high capital trucks, high value. Crew cab long beds is the most common work truck. So now we're at $51,000, and we're going to make it a four-wheel drive. So we'll see the price jumps to $53,695 for the WT four-wheel drive. The Ram, we're going to start with a four-wheel drive, crew cab, 8-foot box. We're at $55,340. The Sierra, making sure everything's four-wheel drive, apples to apples. And now we're going to go crew cab, 8-foot box, $250. Start your build. And now here we are with the Ford. So we got apples to apples to apples. $52,685, but that is actually two-wheel drive. So we have to put this on. So there we go. $55,495 for the Super Duty XL with the 6.8. $55,495. I mean, they're literally $55,495, $55,000. They're exact same price, the Sierra. And the Tradesman, $55,340. So you can tell these guys are really close. And the cheapest truck right here is at $53,695. But little caveat here, guys. There's a $1,000 customer cash rebate right now available. And the Ram truck does not include this in their pricing on their website sometimes. So it's really probably like $1,000 more. I'm going to start right from the beginning and tell you why, in a lot of ways, I think the GMC is the best value. And I'm going to start with right here why. Chrome bumpers and LED headlights. If you're in a cold, icy climate, you might not like LED headlights because sometimes they can freeze up and not work the best in icy or snowy conditions. But for everybody else in the country, LED headlights the rest of the year, this is way better. Plus, this just doesn't, it's got a more premium feel to it as far as looking at value from that standpoint. Whereas the Ford, this is a halogen headlight. If you want LED headlights, your option is you got to get an STX appearance package. And then at that point, your STX appearance package truck jumps to $58,610. But it is a nicer looking truck. You get LED headlights, but it's also at that point, it's $3,000 more, almost 8%. But people that are buying this for a work truck, I don't think they really care about that stuff. But the Ram, they actually give you LED headlights, even in the base model. That's really incredible that even a base model truck gets you this. And there's another big advantage to the Ram. If you're looking for ride quality and comfort, being the fact that this thing has a 5-link rear suspension, coil rear suspension, this will be one of the better riding 2500 trucks in a tradesman class, whereas every one of the other trucks use leaf springs in the rear. Now, I'll tell you the next thing that's awesome about the GM truck that the Ford trucks do not offer, or Ram, as a standard feature. The GMC and the Silverado all come standard with a locking rear differential, automatic locking differential. It's the Eaton, I think it's called the G80. And basically it's a mechanical rear locker that once it senses a difference in wheel speed of approximately 100 RPM, your rear axle locks up. You can get a rear locking differential in the Ford, but it's a $430 option and it's electric, so it's another sensor to fail. And you can get a locking rear differential on the Ram, I believe. Pretty sure it's an option down here. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm a liar. I thought there was a locking rear differential. I'm pretty sure it's part of an option. I just, for some reason, can't find it at the moment. But You do get the locking differential as most of these trucks. Interior-wise at this point, guys, they're all pretty darn similar as far as options and whatnot. These are base model trucks. You're going to have a backup camera. There's not a lot of differences in that regard. Tow ratings, payload, in ways the GM and the Fords have a better payload. Another thing I really like about the GM truck and the Ford is that you can get this what's called a max trailering package, and it basically jumps you to a 3,500 frame, rear axles, leaf pack, and it bumps up the GVW and the payload rating. You can do the exact same thing with the Silverado. And then Ford, that option is called the high capacity axle upgrade. But the downside to both these packages for GMC, Chevrolet, and Ford, it forces you into a diesel at this point. And at that point, if you need more payload, dude, spend the $800 more and just buy a 3,500 series truck, and then you got the extra payload. But for the money, this is where you guys are at. Between $55,000, $53,000, and $58,000, you can get into a 2026 work truck that's going to still get you cruise control, air conditioning, power windows, power locks. I mean, it's still a heck of a truck. And then if you get lucky, you might be able to get another $5,000 in rebates and discounts. So some of these trucks, like the Silverado, you might be able to get this truck into the $40,000 range, maybe $49,000 if you can get some employee pricing and whatnot. We compare the interior. This is the base interior, and they've kept this trim. This has been out on the GM trucks for, I don't know, say 6, 7, 8 years now. Smaller screen, but it's not dual climate control, and you wouldn't expect that at this price point. But it is a decent interior. You can see your transfer case buttons here. We go into the Ram interior. Not a lot of differences at this point too. No dual climate control. You can see your brake controller here. Transfer case controls, USB A and C, and a decent looking 8-inch display. We go into the Sierra interior, and it looks just like the Silverado. It's just got maybe a little bit nicer seating at a base level, but you still got the same dual glove boxes. You still got the same controls here, maybe a little bit nicer trim piece here, but otherwise, literally, these trucks are identical. And then we go into the Ford. This is where it gets a little bit different. Again, the Ford interior is a little bit different. You can see it's got the open glove box, similar size display. You got your transfer case controller here, HVAC controls, but otherwise, basically the same as far as interior ergos and just interior comfort versus the other ones. My big thing of why I like the Ford truck is a few reasons. Aluminum body and an E-coated frame and a really good payload. I think it's a great truck if you live in a wintry, icy, snowy, nasty conditions. This body's not going to rust, and the frame has got a really good E-coating, whereas the GMC and the Chevrolet options, these guys use a wax coating. It's not my jam, but some people really prefer that wax coating. It just doesn't work for the type of environments we have to holding up long term. And then Ram, they also use an E-coating as well. I like the Ram truck because I think the 6.4 in the HD for the most part is a pretty solid engine, but I have heard some people recently reach out to me and tell me that now that they've got multiple displacement cylinder stuff that maybe they're going to start questioning a little bit more about the durability and whatnot of that engine. But the 8-speed transmission behind this Ram, no question, is probably the best transmission of all these trucks in this class as far as durability and serviceability. So I'd be curious to get your guys' thoughts. What do you think is going to happen with the pricing? So far from what I'm seeing, not a lot of discounts. Pricing continues to keep climbing. Also, do you think we're going to see gasoline particulate filters make it in these Super Duty and heavy duty trucks? I hope not. I don't see much good coming from it if that does happen, but curious to get your guys' thoughts. Thanks for watching.